So the Xiaomi Mi 5 has finally been launched in India, and it is going to cost 24,999 for the 3GB RAM 32GB storage model. The phone is going to be available on me.com from April 6th onwards. So April 6th is the first sale for this device, and it will I just see you guys joining, so I'm going to repeat once again. The Mi 5 has just been launched in India. It's gonna cost rupees 24,999 for the 3GB RAM 32GB storage variant, and it will sell on me.com from April 6th onwards. It will be available on partner websites like Amazon and all later, but we don't have a date on that right now. For now, the Mi 5 is going to sell on me.com. As you guys probably already know, it has 32GB of RAM and 3GB of storage. It runs on the Snapdragon 820 processor. It has a 16MP rear camera and a lot of other things which you already know. Ashpreet Singh, nothing else was launched. The Mi 5 is their only launch for today, and I am not really sure what you mean, Kedar. I think you want to see the other sides of the phone. Jason says, wow, you lucky guys. Well, yeah, we are kind of lucky. We get to test out a lot of devices like this. That is true. So yeah, to start with, one thing I want to tell you guys here is that the Mi 5, even though it has a 16 megapixel camera, I am not really very fond of this camera. By Xiaomi standards, I think Xiaomi could have done better in a lot of ways. The company has done better before. But again, it does look pretty good. It's got a Snapdragon 820 processor, and Yuvraj Kannan, this phone costs 24,999 in India, and it will be available on me.com. Ashpreet, I think it is a pretty good price because this is the first Snapdragon 820 powered phone in India, and to be honest, it feels really light. It's only 129 grams, and you know, it feels really fast for a budget kind of a device. So yeah, at this price, it is possibly the fastest phone in the market right now, and that's something I really like. Ashpreet Singh, I haven't seen the goodie bag yet, but I will let you know. What I hear is that there's going to be a Mi in-ear headset in that. So you can see Jay Money in the background there if you guys notice. And Jay Money, we are going to talk to Jay Money very soon as well, so wait for that as well. Srivat Tyag says, what about the OIS? So Srivat, that's a funny thing. The OIS on this device is very good. It's got a 4-axis OIS. We were trying this setup that Mi had set up here, and the OIS does look very good. Mi 5 Pro, asks MSAF. So the Mi 5 Pro is not coming to India at the moment, but Xiaomi says that they might launch it later. In fact, the 3GB, 32GB variant that you see in my hand is going to be the only version of the Xiaomi Mi 5 in India for now. But again, Xiaomi may launch other versions later. Sumun Batarai, again, the phone costs 24,999 rupees in India for the 3GB, 32GB variant. Why didn't they launch the 4GB version? I am pretty sure that's because of the shortage of units. The next sale for the 4GB version is going to be in China very soon, and they have a lot of demand there according to them. But they might launch it later depending on what kind of prices they can come up with. Kishan Sekwal, it has a bunch of colors, but yeah, for now I think only the white color is available in India. They haven't talked about the other colors, but they will be bringing the black and the gold color to India also. Going back, okay, is it not too much for this mobile, says Deepak Sharma. Deepak, I really do not think 24,999 is a bad price for this phone, because it feels really fast. The camera, yes, I'm not very fond of the camera, but that's only in terms of Xiaomi. You know, by Xiaomi standards, I am not very fond of it. But overall, I really don't think this is a bad price for this. Shubhangan Saxena says, is there will be an update version for Android in Redmi Note 4G? Not that I know of, Shubham. They are already selling the Redmi Note 3 in India. Aditya Pusalkar says, does it heat up like the Mi 4? No, the Snapdragon 820, at least for now, does not heat up like the Mi 4, but then I have spent about 20 minutes with the device, and I've really done nothing more than test the camera to, talk about the heating about this device. No, it does not have expandable storage, at least at the moment. Rajan Arora, it supports Quick Charge 3.0 since it's on Snapdragon 820, so it supports Quick Charge 3.0. So for those who don't know, that's Qualcomm's newest standard in quick charging. and it allows basically what Quick Charge 3.0 does is that it allows the battery to draw as much power as it requires, in the sense that batteries usually draw less power as the charge goes up, but with Quick Charge 3.0 the battery keeps drawing just the ample amount of charging it wants. Taran Hora, no, there's no heating issue at the moment, at least I don't see anything. 32GB external storage, yes, 32GB internal storage I think should be good enough for most people, to be honest. Personally, I don't find 32GB to be a lot, and according to Xiaomi, right now they're not going to launch the 64GB variant for this device here. The Mi 5 Pro is not coming to India at the moment. Shubham Sharma, this is not Samir, this is Prasid. Samir is not here today. In fact, Samir is sick. So please do hope for him to get well soon. Rohit Arora, hi there. I'm doing good. Okay, flop model of 2016. J7 is better. I really don't agree with you, Rahul. I'm not, it's not about Xiaomi or anything, but I really think between this and the Galaxy J7, I think the Mi 5 is definitely a better device. Too costly. iPhone 5s is cheaper than this and better than this. Yes, but the iPhone 5s is also a 3-year-old device, so that is something we must take into account. And I honestly do not think the iPhone 5s is faster than this, because the 820 is much faster, and Xiaomi has made a bunch of improvements with MIUI. So this phone, it's not about the fact that it's got just Snapdragon 820. There are very conscious choices that have been made here. For example, the 1080p screen allows better frame rates and less battery drop. Those things are very important, and that is what is going to define the performance of this device in the long run. Again, Naveen Kumar, the 128GB Mi 4 Pro is not in India at the moment. And yes, Kedar, this phone does have an IR blaster, and according to Xiaomi, they have worked really hard to make sure it works with a bunch of DTH devices that are available in India, including Airtel IPTV and Tata Sky as well. Robin Rehan says, how is the loudspeaker? So this area where I'm standing is pretty loud, so I can't really comment on the loudspeaker at the moment, but I'm hoping it will be good. HTC 10 or Mi 5, your take? Again, HTC 10 is not launched in India, and I would really not want to comment on a phone based on just the rumors. But on first impression, I have to tell you guys that the Xiaomi Mi 5 is probably the most amazing device that I've seen this year, barring the Samsung Galaxy S7. And considering the price, seems like just as good a phone. As the mobile is 24,000, the internal storage should be 64 and no external. Yeah, I think if you need 64GB storage, you will always find 32GB to be too low. But honestly, I think for most people, 32GB is more than enough. And again, yes, Kedar, the phone does have an IR blaster, and they think, according to Xiaomi, it works with most Indian DTH services as well as air conditioners, TVs and things like that. So yes, on first impressions, going back to the Xiaomi Mi 5, this phone is really impressive, and we are going to get this for review tomorrow. So hopefully tomorrow. So please stay tuned for that. We'll have a review up by most likely Monday. Thanks a lot for joining.
Samsung's 2016 revision of the Galaxy J5. I tested this phone for a week a while back, but never got around to reviewing it. So last week, I popped my SIM back in for about 5 days. And here we are. So is this budget offering from Samsung one worth considering? Well, here goes. If this is your first time here, or if you are a long time viewer who knows exactly how this video is gonna turn out, well, my name's Ash, this is C4E Tech, and you're watching my full review of the 2016 edition of the Samsung Galaxy J5. Let's get started. So let's start with the area where Samsung's made the most improvements, the build. The J5 now has chamfered metal to the sides, the back's still plastic but has a faux metal finish. This means the J5 doesn't feel cheap, actually feels kinda nice in hand. And though the display is grown by 0.2 inches, it still manages to remain optimized for single-handed usage. We have the power button to the right, nothing up top, meaning no secondary noise cancelling microphone. The volume rockers can be found to the left, and at the bottom, we have the primary microphone, micro USB port, and a 3.5mm headphone jack. Note that this phone has support for USB OTG. To the front, on top, we have a 5 megapixel front-facing camera, earpiece, sensors, and an LED light. Just like with last year's J, this is not a flash, just a light that you can turn on and off. Below that, we have the 5.2-inch display, and at the bottom, we have the familiar keys which still aren't backlit. Turning the phone around, we have an 8-megapixel rear camera with a single LED flash and a speaker. Samsung branding can be found below. This back is user removable, and inside we have 2 SIM slots and a micro SD card slot. The battery capacity is increased now. It's 3100 mAh, up from 2600 on its predecessor. But that doesn't really seem to do much. The battery life of this phone was okay, about average I'd say. In the time I spent with it, the J5 managed to get me through a day of moderate usage on a single charge, almost every day. But if you are a heavy user, you might find yourself having to search for an outlet before the day is done. Samsung has provided some power saving options, including the ultra power saving mode, to help you get more out of those last few percentage, and they do work well. Overall, the battery life is not bad, but at the same time is not what I would expect from a Samsung phone in this segment. Anyway, underneath the hood, the J5 is still powered by the same chip as last year, the old Snapdragon 410 chip. That's 4 Cortex A53 cores clocked at 1.2 GHz each, coupled to the Adreno 306 GPU. This time around, we do have an extra gig of RAM, and the storage is 16 gigs by default. The Galaxy J5 2016 is unimpressive in benchmarks, scoring lower than last year's budget devices from other manufacturers. That said, the Adreno 306 still is a decent GPU. It manages to hold up well, runs most games, expect frame drops with intensive games, but for the most casual of games, the 306 will perform well. As with most Samsung phones, there were no signs of overheating here. The audio via the internal speaker is still not too loud, but the audio via the earphones, cellular reception and call quality were all great. Like I mentioned earlier, the J5 2016 sports a larger 5.2-inch display, but the resolution is still 720p. This is a Super AMOLED display, but there's no mention of protection. Given that the display is larger this time around, the J5 does have a lower pixel density of 282 pixels per inch. That doesn't really make a difference, and the display looks good, the viewing angles are great, and it also gets bright enough to be easily used outdoors. Sadly, Samsung continues to omit the auto brightness sensor, so you're gonna have to toggle between brightness levels manually a lot. Now, moving on to the cameras, Samsung's again retained the same hardware, an 8-megapixel rear camera with an f1.9 aperture. This camera performs adequately under well-lit conditions, reasonable levels of detail, good contrast, nice shallow depth of field thanks to that wide aperture. Under low light, as expected, it falters, not too good. The J5 can also shoot 1080p videos at 30 frames per second, and the footage is decent, stable frame rate, average levels of detail, kinda similar to what we've seen with the photos. The 5-megapixel front-facing camera has a wide-angle lens and an f1.9 aperture again. It shoots decent selfies. The LED light can help a little when shooting under low-lit conditions. On the software side of things, this camera UI has a manual mode, but this is just the regular adjustments that you'd get with every camera. It's just labeled manual, not really a manual mode. The shutter response is not too fast. Anyway, moving on, the Galaxy J5 2016 runs on Android 6.0.1 Marshmallow with Samsung's TouchWiz UI on top. There's not a lot of preloaded apps here, the interface is refreshingly clean, but if it's not for you, this iteration of TouchWiz has support for the theme store. You do get to pick from a lot of themes to help you change the look and feel of your 2016 edition J5. Some of the Samsung marketing favorites like the Ultra Data Savings and the S-Bike mode are also present and accounted for. Despite having an older chip underneath, Samsung's done a fine job with optimizing TouchWiz. When it comes to the day-to-day usage, the J5 2016 is smooth. No random crashes, no lag with the basic apps, the user experience is not bad at all. The user experience is much better than the specs underneath. That said, does this J5 warrant a price tag of 13,000 rupees? Well, from a build and design standpoint, the J5 is excellent. The extra battery doesn't hurt too. But at a time where the Chinese competition is throwing in things like fingerprint scanners, full HD displays, optical image stabilization, a full manual mode, it just feels lazy to not update the SoC and cameras for an entire cycle. It's almost like Samsung started designing a phone to compete with the competition, and by the time the design was done, someone walked in and said, "Damn, that's too much for this price segment. You know what? Let's leave the rest as it is from last year. That's how it feels to me. Anyway, barring the dated specs, it's disheartening to see Samsung continue to ignore the basics, ignore the most basic of sensors, including the ambient light sensor, a secondary noise cancelling microphone, a notification LED, backlight for the capacitive keys, and oh yeah, haptic feedback, as always, is present but disabled. So, is the J5 2016 worth getting? I mean, do you not know my answer yet? Well, if you really need a Samsung phone at this price segment and are a light user, then yeah, it's not too bad a phone. It gets the job done, but if you're willing to consider other options, there are a ton of phones out there that will provide you better value for your money. So that's just my take on the J5 2016. Do you agree with my thoughts here? Let me know in the comments below. And I guess that's it for this video. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, vote it down if you didn't. And for more videos like this, hit that subscribe button down below if you haven't already. And if for some reason you do want to pick a J5 2016 up, I'll leave direct links in the description below. Use them if you want to help the channel out. So I guess that's it for now. Thanks a lot for watching. Till next time, this is Ash here from C4E Tech signing off. You guys have a great day. Bye-bye now.